I never imagined I'd be sharing this story, but here I am. My name is Ava, and at 28, my life seemed picture perfect. I was thriving as a marketing director at a dynamic tech company, living in a stylish apartment in the heart of the city, and deeply in love with my boyfriend, Lucas. Our connection was electric. We spent hours lost in conversation, dreaming about our future together. It felt like we were living in a fairy tale. One evening, as we lounged on my couch, binge watching the latest Netflix series, I turned to Lucas. I think it's time you met my family, I said, feeling a mix of excitement and nerves. Lucas smiled, his eyes lighting up. I'd love to. I'm sure they're amazing. I laughed, hoping he was right. Well, my sister Mia might give you a hard time, but I know my parents will adore you. Mia was 26 and had recently graduated from college. She was still living with our parents, trying to find her footing in the world. We had always been close, but lately she had been distant and moody. I attributed it to the stress of job hunting and the uncertainty of post grad life. The dinner with my family was set for the following weekend. I spent hours getting ready, wanting everything to be perfect. Lucas brought a bottle of wine and a bouquet of flowers, instantly charming my mother. Oh, Ava, she gushed, pulling me aside in the kitchen. He's absolutely wonderful. Such good manners and so handsome, too. I noticed Mia rolling her eyes from her spot at the counter, but I brushed it off. She was probably just feeling overshadowed. The evening went better than I could have hoped. Dad and Lucas bonded over their shared love of golf. Mom couldn't stop praising his career achievements, and even Mia seemed to warm up to him by the end of the night. As we were leaving, Mom hugged me tight and whispered, "Don't let this one get away, sweetheart." Within weeks, Lucas and I were talking about marriage. It wasn't a grand proposal. Instead, it was a natural conversation that flowed over dinner one night. We could do it in 6 months, Lucas suggested, reaching across the table to take my hand. Nothing too fancy, just family and close friends. My parents were thrilled when we shared the news. They insisted on paying for half the wedding expenses, with Lucas's parents covering the other half. Mia sat quietly through the entire conversation, picking at her food and occasionally letting out small sighs. I chalked it up to her usual moodiness, not thinking much of it. The next 5 months were a whirlwind of wedding preparations. Every spare moment was filled with decisions about flowers, cake tastings, venue visits, and endless meetings with vendors. I was running myself ragged, trying to balance my demanding job with the endless to-do list of wedding planning. Often I stay late at the office to meet with our wedding organizer, trying to keep everything on track. That Tuesday started like any other. I had a morning meeting with the florist and planned to stay late to finalize the reception timeline with our coordinator. But around 2 p.m., a splitting headache forced me to leave work early. I thought I'd surprise Lucas. He usually worked from home on Tuesdays, and I figured we could order takeout and have a quiet evening together. Maybe he could help me with some of the wedding tasks that were piling up. The apartment was quiet when I unlocked the door, but I heard muffled sounds coming from our bedroom. I assumed Lucas was on a work call. He often took them in there for better sound quality. I'll never forget what I saw when I opened that door. Lucas and Mia tangled in our sheets. Time seemed to stop, the world narrowing to that single heart-wrenching moment. Mia didn't even have the decency to look ashamed. She just stared at me with a cold, almost defiant expression. Ava, Lucas stammered, scrambling to get up. Baby, I can explain. Something inside me snapped. Without a word, I walked to the closet, grabbed their clothes, and marched straight to our third-floor balcony. Ava, don't, Lucas called out, but it was too late. I had already thrown everything over the railing, watching with grim satisfaction as their clothes scattered across the parking lot below. Get out, I said, my voice eerily calm. Both of you. Now, Mia had to wrap herself in another sheet from our bed because all her clothes were now decorating the asphalt 3 stories below. The sight of her trying to maintain her dignity while shuffling toward the door would have been laughable if I hadn't felt like my world was crumbling around me. As soon as they were out, I slammed the door and collapsed against it, sliding down to sit on the floor. I don't know how long I sat there, trying to make sense of what had just happened. The sun was setting when my phone rang. Mom's name flashed on the screen. For a moment, I felt a glimmer of hope. Surely she was calling to comfort me, to tell me everything would be okay. I couldn't have been more wrong. How dare you humiliate your sister like that, Mom hissed as soon as I answered, throwing her clothes out the window, making her walk out in a sheet. What were you thinking? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. What was I thinking? What was she thinking? She was in bed with my fiance. You're always so dramatic, Ava, Mom cut in sharply. This is exactly why. Mom, I cut her off, my voice stronger than I felt. The wedding is canceled. I'll contact the vendors tomorrow. No, you won't, she interrupted, her tone unnaturally calm. The wedding is still happening? Your father and I talked it over with Lucas's parents. We spoke with Lucas and Mia too. The wedding will proceed as planned. Mia will take your place. 5 words, 5 simple words that felt like a punch to the gut. I actually checked to see if I was bleeding. Surely something that painful must leave a mark. You can't be serious, I whispered. That's insane. You can't just. We've paid for half this wedding. Ava, mom cut in sharply. Lucas's parents have paid for their half. Everything is booked and paid for. We're not throwing all that money away just because you're having a tantrum. A tantrum? My voice rose with each word. My fiancé and my sister were in my bed. How was that a tantrum? Mom sighed like I was a child throwing a fit. You need to grow up and stop being so emotional about everything. Ava, these things happen. The line went dead. I don't remember much of that night. I know I cried until I had no tears left. I know I screamed into my pillows until my throat was raw. I know I threw up twice, my body physically revolting against the betrayal. The morning sun found me curled up on the bathroom floor, still in yesterday's clothes. My phone had been buzzing periodically, but I couldn't bring myself to look at it. Finally, around 9 a.m., I saw my cousin Lila's name flash across the screen. Ava, her voice was hesitant. I just got off the phone with your mom. She's been calling everyone in the family. And I asked, my stomach dropping, she's telling everyone that Lucas broke up with you because he fell in love with Mia. She's saying it was all very civil and mature, but you're not handling it well. Lila's voice got quieter. They're telling everyone the wedding is still on, just with Mia instead. I closed my eyes, willing myself not to throw up again. What else? They're telling everyone not to contact you for a while. They're saying you're behaving inappropriately and need time to process things properly. The bathroom tiles were cool against my forehead as I leaned against the wall. My entire family was being turned against me. My parents were painting me as the villain in their twisted narrative. They were protecting my sister, my cheating, betraying sister, while isolating me. Very burned through me that morning. But it wasn't the destructive kind. I made my decision right there on that bathroom floor. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction of a scandal. I wouldn't cry, scream, or beg. I would simply disappear from their lives as completely as they had erased me from theirs. I made a decision that morning on the bathroom floor. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction of a scandal. I wouldn't cry, scream, or beg. I would simply disappear from their lives as completely as they had erased me from theirs. The first step was to cut all ties. I changed my phone number, blocked every family member on social media, and moved to a new apartment across town. It was a small studio, but it was mine, a sanctuary where I could start anew. Next, I threw myself into work. I marched into my boss, Victoria's office before she'd even had her first coffee. I need more work, I told her, standing straight despite my exhaustion. The most challenging projects you've got. I want them all. She studied me over her glasses, probably noticing the dark circles under my eyes and the determined set of my jaw. Ava, you're already handling a full load. And with the wedding. There is no wedding, I cut her off sharply. And I need to be busier, much busier. Something in my expression must have convinced her because she opened her drawer and pulled out a thick file. The Thompson account. Nobody's been able to crack it. It's yours if you want it. I took the file, feeling the spark of determination. This was my lifeline, my way to channel the pain into something productive. I found a new apartment that weekend, a small studio across town. It was cozy and quiet, a perfect place to retreat and lick my wounds. The Thompson account was a beast, but I tackled it head on. I worked 14-hour days, took online courses at night, and studied our competitors like my life depended on it. Working was the only thing that kept me from thinking about them, about how Mia and Lucas were probably living happily ever after in the house we'd planned to buy, about how my parents were probably doting on their good daughter while telling everyone what a shame it was about their eldest. I cracked the Thompson account in 2 weeks. The Impossible Miller project was completed a month ahead of schedule. Every challenge Victoria threw at me, I conquered. I was promoted to senior manager within a year and director of operations the next. By the 3rd year, I was the youngest vice president in the company's history. My salary tripled, and I bought a gorgeous apartment in the city center, the kind of place Lucas and I used to walk past and dream about. But I bought it on my own, with my own money, and every time I walked through those doors, I felt a fierce pride that had nothing to do with anyone else. I started traveling, first small trips and weekend getaways to nearby cities, then bigger ones, Paris in spring, Tokyo in fall, the Greek islands in summer. I posted photos of all of it on Instagram, not to show off, but to remind myself how far I'd come. 3 years had passed since that fateful day, 3 years of not hearing their voices, not sitting at their dinner table, not knowing anything about their lives, except the one fact I couldn't escape: Mia had married Lucas. I heard it from Lila, who mentioned it casually during one of our rare text exchanges, probably testing to see if I'd react. I didn't. I was happy, really genuinely happy. Not the kind of happiness I thought I had with Lucas, which was all about pleasing other people and fitting into their expectations. This was a deeper contentment, one that came from knowing exactly who I was and what I was capable of. Or at least I was happy until my phone rang one ordinary Tuesday afternoon. I stared at the unknown number on my phone screen, debating whether to answer. Something made me pick up intuition, maybe, or just morbid curiosity. "Hello, Ava. It's Mom." Her voice was sickly sweet, like she was talking to a stranger she was trying to impress. She was speaking as if we just talked yesterday, as if nothing had ever happened. "What do you want?" I kept my voice neutral, professional, the same tone I use in board meetings. "Sweetheart, is that you?" The fake cheerfulness in her voice cracked slightly. "Your father and I need to talk to you. Could you come to the house, please? We've had some serious discussions about everything. About you." I should have hung up. I should have blocked this number like all the others. Instead, I heard myself saying, "When?" "Saturday around 6? I'll make your favorite dinner." "Fine." I hung up before she could say anything else. The week crawled by. I threw myself into work even harder than usual, trying not to think about the upcoming visit. My assistant caught me staring at my calendar more than once, the Saturday appointment glaring at me like an accusation. When the day arrived, I spent an hour getting ready, hair perfectly styled, makeup flawless, designer outfit carefully chosen. If I was walking into the lion's den, I was going to do it looking like someone they couldn't touch anymore. I drove my new Mercedes slowly through my old neighborhood, noting how little had changed. But when I pulled up to my parents' house, I barely recognized it. The place looked tired, worn down. The garden my mother had once prided herself on was overgrown, the paint was peeling, and the front steps needed repair. I waited for the pain, for the rage, for any of the emotions that had nearly destroyed me 3 years ago. But there was nothing. They were strangers to me now, as irrelevant as the peeling wallpaper behind them. "You look good," Mia said, her eyes running over my outfit, my bag, my carefully curated appearance. I smiled, all teeth. "Amazing what you can accomplish when you don't waste time plotting to steal other people's fiances." "Ava," Mom's voice held a familiar note of disapproval. "Please, everyone, let's just sit down and have a nice dinner." I picked at the overcooked chicken on my plate, not really hungry, but needing something to focus on besides the awkward silence around the table. The children, my supposed niece and nephew, were the only ones making any noise, the younger one banging a spoon against his high chair while the older one whined about his peas. Mom cleared her throat. "We've been following your success, Ava. Those photos you post, that apartment of yours looks absolutely beautiful right in the heart of downtown, isn't it?" I took a sip of water, not responding. "And your job, vice president. We're also," she glanced at Mia, who was staring intently at her plate. "So impressed with how well you're doing." "Why am I here?" I put my fork down, looking directly at Mom. "Because I know it's not to discuss my social media posts." Mom's smile faltered slightly. She pushed her food around her plate before speaking again. "Well, you see, things have been a bit difficult lately. Your father." "I lost my job 3 months ago," Dad cut in, his voice heavy with defeat. "Budget cuts after 30 years with the company. I've had to pick up extra shifts at the hospital. And I've been working extra hours at the clinic," Mom added quickly. "Everything's so expensive these days, the mortgage, utilities, everything." I kept my face neutral, waiting for them to get to the point. "And of course, with Mia staying home with the kids," Mom gestured toward my sister, who is now trying to clean something off her younger child's face. "They're managing on just Lucas's salary, but with two little ones." "What exactly does any of this have to do with me?" I asked, though I was starting to see where this was going. Mom's face brightened, apparently missing or choosing to ignore my tone. Well, we were thinking Mia really needs to find a job, but childcare is so expensive these days, and since you have such a flexible position, I stared at her, waiting for the punchline. It didn't come. Are you seriously suggesting that I should babysit for them? I asked incredulously. You have that big apartment, Ava, Mom continued enthusiastically, and I'm sure you could work from home some days. The children are really very well behaved. As if on cue, the 2-year-old chose that moment to throw his sippy cup across the room while screaming at the top of his lungs. This is a joke, right? I looked around the table. You're not actually asking me to babysit the children of my sister and my ex-fiance? Well, Dad cleared his throat. If you're not comfortable with that arrangement, you could help pay for a proper babysitter given your salary. I sat back in my chair, genuinely amazed at their audacity. They had ambushed me and be here, served me my mother's mediocre cooking, all to ask me to either play nanny to my sister's kids or open my wallet for them. No, I said, standing up. Absolutely not. I will not be your babysitter and I will not be your ATM. Ava, Mom's concerned mask slip, revealing the anger beneath. How dare you be so selfish after everything we've done for you? Selfish? I echoed, my voice rising. You're asking me to support the family that betrayed me, the sister who stole my fiancé, the parents who chose her over me. And I'm the selfish one? You always were so dramatic, Ava, Mom snapped. Always so emotional about everything. Dramatic. I laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the room. You want dramatic. How about this? I never want to see or hear from any of you again. Lose my number, forget my address, and don't even think about contacting me at work. I walked out to the sound of their screaming, their voices following me down the driveway. Lucas had the sense to stay quiet, but I could hear my parents calling me every name in the book while Mia wailed about her children. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. I blocked them all, every single one, aunts, uncles, cousins. They disappeared from my social media one by one. I didn't bother explaining or defending myself. They had chosen their side long ago. But my family wasn't done. I was in the middle of a meeting with our biggest client when my assistant burst in, looking panicked. Miss Parker, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but your family is in the lobby. Your sister has 2 crying children with her, and your parents are demanding to speak to Mr. Davidson. I apologized to my client and rushed to the lobby. Sure enough, there they were, Mom and Dad making a scene at the reception desk while Mia stood there with both kids who were screaming their heads off. People were staring, phones were out recording. We demand to speak to whoever's in charge, Dad was shouting. She can't treat her family this way. We'll see what her boss has to say about this. I walked up to the head of security, Marcus, who was already moving toward the situation. Those people are not allowed in this building, I said clearly. Please remove them. I watched as Marcus officially cleared them from the lobby, their shouts echoing off the marble floors. He came back to me afterward, looking concerned. Would you like us to call the police, Miss Parker? No, I said, straightening my jacket. Just make sure they're on the ban list. They're not to be allowed in the building under any circumstances. They didn't stop. Somehow they got my new address. I came home one evening to find them camped outside my building's entrance, Mia with the kids again, using them as emotional blackmail, while Mom and Dad tried to force their way in behind other residents. We're not leaving until you help your sister, Mom shouted as I called building security. They showed up at random times after that, pounding on my door, screaming through it about family obligations and what a horrible person I was. I started taking different routes home, varying my schedule, looking over my shoulder everywhere I went. It was when they started contacting my colleagues and business associates that I finally broke. I'd been trying to handle it on my own, thinking they'd eventually give up, but they were escalating instead of backing down. I called my cousin Leela, who had remained neutral through everything, and asked for a recommendation. I know a great lawyer, she said. She handles family cases, restraining orders, that sort of thing. Her name's Michelle Torres. Michelle turned out to be exactly what I needed: tough, practical, and completely unfazed by family drama. She helped me organize everything: screenshots of every message, security footage from my building and office, witness statements from my doorman and colleagues, copies of their social media posts, records of every attempt they'd made to contact me after being told to stop. We're asking for a restraining order, Michelle explained as we prepared for pre-aired. They'll be legally barred from approaching you, your home, or your workplace. No contact through any means, physical, digital, or through third parties. and we're requesting $115,000 in damages for emotional distress and reputation damage. I wasn't prepared for how it would feel to see them in court. They looked smaller somehow, less threatening under the fluorescent lights. Mia had left the kids at home for once, though she still managed to cry on cue and call to testify. Their defense was weak. They were just trying to help their daughter reconnect with her family. They were worried about me. They just wanted me to see my nephews. The judge wasn't impressed. The evidence of harassment is clear and substantial, he said in his ruling. The restraining order is granted in full. The defendants are to have no contact with the plaintiff through any means, direct or indirect. The court awards the requested damages of $115,000. This is ridiculous. Mom jumped up, screaming, "We have rights, you ungrateful trash," Dad shouted at me. Mia dissolved into hysterics, wailing about her children again. The judge's gavel cracked like a gunshot. "One more outburst, and I'll hold you all in contempt," he warned. "Furthermore, given your behavior in my courtroom, adding a $5,000 fine for each defendant." That was 6 months ago. The restraining order works. They can't come near me, contact me, or post about me online. The damages and fines hit them hard financially, from what Lila tells me. Though I try not to think about them at all, I don't know what they're doing now. I don't know if Mia and Lucas are still together, if the kids are growing up happy, if my parents have learned anything from all this. And the beautiful thing is, I don't care. I wake up each morning in my peaceful apartment, go to my job that I love, and live my life on my own terms. They say living well is the best revenge, but I'm not even interested in revenge anymore. I'm just living well, and that's more than enough. The restraining order had been in place for 6 months, and my life had finally found a sense of calm. I no longer had to look over my shoulder or worry about unexpected confrontations. I was free to live my life on my own terms, and it felt incredible. I also began seeing a therapist, Dr. Patel, who helped me process my emotions and heal from the trauma. She guided me through the complex feelings of betrayal, anger, and sadness, helping me find forgiveness not for their sake, but for my own peace of mind. One day, as I sat in Dr. Patel's office, I had an epiphany. I didn't need to hold on to the anger and resentment anymore. It was time to let go, to forgive, and to move forward. I decided to write a letter to my family, not to send it, but to express my feelings and find closure. Dear Mom, Dad, and Mia, I'm writing this letter not to send it to you, but to find closure for myself. I want you to know that I forgive you. I forgive you for the pain you caused me, for the betrayal, and for the years of silence. I forgive you because holding on to this anger is no longer serving me. I have grown so much over the past few years. I have found strength, resilience, and a sense of self that I never knew existed. I have built a life that I am proud of, a life that is truly my own, and I have done it all without you. I hope that one day you will find the peace and happiness that I have found. I hope that you will learn from the mistakes of the past and become better people because of it. But I also know that I cannot control your actions or your feelings. I can only control my own. So I am choosing to let go of the pain and the anger. I am choosing to forgive and to move forward. I am choosing to live my life with love, kindness, and compassion, even in the face of betrayal. Thank you for the lessons, the experiences, and the strength that I have gained from this journey. I am grateful for it all, even the pain. With love and forgiveness, Ava. Writing that letter was a turning point for me. It allowed me to release the weight of the past and embrace the future with open arms. I started to see the world differently, with a newfound appreciation for the beauty and the goodness that surrounded me. I reconnected with Lila, who had always been supportive and understanding. We talked about the importance of family, forgiveness, and moving forward. We planned trips together, eager to create new memories and strengthen our bond. Our first adventure was a weekend getaway to a cozy cabin in the mountains, where we spent our days hiking and our nights sharing stories and laughter by the fire. As I looked out at the stunning vista from the cabin's porch, I felt a profound sense of peace. I had come so far, overcome so much, and found a strength within myself that I never knew existed. I was no longer the broken, betrayed woman I once was. I was a survivor, a warrior, and a beacon of hope and inspiration. My journey had been one of pain, growth, and ultimately triumph. I had faced the darkest moments of my life and emerged stronger and more resilient than ever before. And as I stood there, taking in the beauty of the world around me, I knew that I was exactly where I was meant to be. I looked toward the future with optimism, focusing on my personal growth and happiness. I reflected on the lessons I had learned and the strength I had gained from my experiences. The story of my life was far from over, but I knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, I was ready to face them with courage, determination, and an unbreakable spirit.